I want to seize this opportunity, everyone, and to say a very happy new year to you all. I do hope you had a wonderful time despite coronavirus lockdown and situation everywhere across the world. So welcome to the webinar this afternoon. We are going to be talking a lot about the topic that I call immigrating through education. So that's majorly what we'll be addressing this afternoon. Just the highlight of the things we'll be addressing, majorly challenges that I call HRCV. I'm going to be talking more about that later on. But majorly we are talking about how to immigrate through education and what you need to do, what you need to know, what you need to start with, how you should start, when you should start, and all of that. So basically the things that you need to know about going to study abroad. So like I said, my name is Bosede Edwards. I'm your host today, and I'm also your speaker today. So I'm a senior consultant with OT Consulting and Aros Transactions Malaysia. So I'm going to be facilitating this learning session. It's actually part of the very important sections of the webinar where we start to talk about what's the best option for you, what's the point of your wanting to go abroad, and if you have made up your mind on that, then what's the best options in terms of country, in terms of programs, in terms of courses, and how can you increase your chances of success. What are the important preparations you need to make? What are the major obstacles you may encounter, and how do you address those obstacles? And then scholarships and other types of funding. That's a very huge topic that I think practically every day we get questions on this. Can I have full scholarship? Can you help me with full scholarship? So I know that the financial part of going to study abroad is the funding part. It's a very big part of it. So I'm going to be addressing that a lot in the presentation. And then for those who were not part of our webinars last year, and those who were part of some and maybe probably missed some, I'm going to be doing a recap of some of the institutions that we hosted last year, so that you can always go back to the video on Facebook or on YouTube to see what you may find useful in some of the presentations that we had there. And finally, we're going to have just a short overview of what this year is going to look like at our end, so you can key into the programs we have mapped out for the year. So the first question that I'm going to be addressing here is, what's even the point of immigrating through education? Why should you bother yourself about it? There are so many other ways of immigrating. You can take advantage of several immigration programs that are available out there. So what's the point of me talking to you and saying go through education? Who wants to stress themselves by going to school? So what's the point? That's the first thing I want to address. And I want to start by telling you that what I always tell many people who keep asking this question all the time through emails, through Facebook chats and all that, the point of the issue is that you, for those who are going to be, just think you can pick up and just go abroad and then go get employment. Up to yesterday night, someone still said to me, please, I want my daughter to go and work outside. Now, in the country that you want to go to, really, what do you have to offer them that they don't already have? That's the question that you need to answer first. So what is the key skill that you are having that is so scarce in that country that they cannot find? Because usually for you to go and work outside your country, your employer has to get a permission to employ you. I'm going to be using a lot of our schools or our interactions with Canada in my examples. So know that applies to other countries as well. So because there's no way I can be talking about all the countries. So I'm going to be using Canada a lot as in my examples. So that what I started talking about now, the permission that an employer needs to have to get you to come and work in their country, especially for Canada, is called the LMIA. That's the Labor Market Impact Assessment. And your employer or your would-be employer needs to apply for this, get the approval before he can bring you into Canada to come and work. Now, what does your employer need to get this for you? Because straight away it should be, if it's just to apply for this and get it and then you can go over, then why are they not doing it? Now, these are conditions that are required of your employer. You must be operating a legitimate business, which is straightforward. He must provide goods and services to the public, so it must be a public company, which is, let me say, straightforward as well. He must be able to show proof of his ability to pay a salary to a foreign worker. So if you are, he's going to pay you, so he must have enough to show the government that yes, he can afford to pay you. But beyond all of these are these other conditions. He has to prove that there is no local person that can do the job, so he can justify the reason for employing you. That is something that is not easy to do for most employers. He has to be in a list of companies that have not laid off staff within 12 months prior to wanting to bring you in. That is a very big challenge. And finally, he has to pay $1,000 per applicant. So going through all of this, and then in addition to the fact that he has to put out the application, the advertisement there, and allow to check whether there are locals who can actually do the job or not. And then after about 2 months, that's when he can now decide to bring you in. When you put all of this together with so many other factors that I might not have captured here, you discover that it's not so easy for an employer to just say, okay, you are just maybe, let me use the word regular, you're just a regular person. It's not like you are some professional in your field that is world renowned, or you're well known in your field. You have some skills that only very few people have within your field. That's the only thing that could make an employer want to go through all of this trouble just to bring you in. So that's why the idea of going over to any country through finding a job is something that is only very limited number of people can access that. Then that will take me to immigration through other routes. You have Greek programs, highly skilled migrant visas, federal skilled work experience route. All of that are not, they are not things that just ordinary people can actually take advantage of, except, let's say, you really have the money, you have the other factors that are considered like age. So maybe age is on your side, qualifications are on your side, so all of that, family situation is on your side. All of that will come into play when it comes to immigrating through other routes. And you have to show proof that you are comfortable enough to be able to take care of a family over there in the country that you're going. And that's a lot of money. So that will lead me to the advantage of going through education. Because when you want to go through education, one, it's easy, it's the easiest way to go, because, okay, you want to go and study. It's a win-win situation. The country is going to gain from you. You're also going to eventually gain from the country, because you're going to pay tuition, you're going to pay for accommodation, you're going to eat. If you bring your family, you're going to take care of your family. So it's a win-win. It's not just the nation that is welcoming you. You're also bringing something into the system. For some nations across the world, education, international education, is one of the routes by which they actually get so much money. Foreign exchange for them, it's a lot when it comes to international education. So that's one of the major reasons why you have an advantage when you go through education. Another reason why you have an advantage is because when you go in through education, you pass through the national system of instruction. And by reason of that, they believe that now you can settle into the system and conveniently do a job successfully. Without that, when you are coming from a different country, you are trained in a different country, you have a different mentality and all of that, you may not fit perfectly into the system. You want to get over there and start to look for jobs. Employers are not very interested in you because your education is not from within the system. So they believe you don't understand the system, you may not even have the skills that they expect, because the institutions in every country produce graduates for the industries in the country. So you were not produced by the institution from that country. So that limits your advantage when it comes to job opportunities. So all of that together is the reason why your best bet. So, and also to answer the question of all the people that have been asking me, oh, can you help us with jobs? Your best bet is education. Jobs are reserved for only very few people who can show proof that the skills they have are skills that are not readily available in the country that they are going to. Okay, so general prerequisites, who can study abroad? That's one of the questions I get as well. Of course, your qualification is important. So I would say, as long as you have a high school certificate that is good, you are very okay. You can go abroad to study. Or if you have work experience to go with something lower than that, then you might be able to justify your experience as qualification. So for most courses, it depends on what program you are applying for. If you're going for maybe a direct bachelor's program, grade 12 or A levels, grade 10 or 11 will be for pre-university programs or foundation. You need a CGPA of 3.0 and above for masters and PhD. Yes, that's the minimum. That will guarantee admission. It's not going to guarantee something beyond admission, like people who talk about scholarships and all that. If you're doing a research programs, you need an excellent research proposal as part of your application package. Other prerequisites for going, I am going to say, your passion and commitment to making this work for you is top on the list. If you're passionate about it enough, I'm sure you're going to get it eventually. Your financial ability to show that you can take care of yourself, you can pay your way through education in the country you're going is also important. And then your outstanding skills or talent with portfolio to prove it can also be something that can help you, especially when it comes to, say, getting scholarships or taking care of yourself when you go to the particular country. Okay, so the next question, what's the best country, what's the best program, or the best course? So I'll start by saying your end goal is the most important thing. What's your plan when you finish the program you want to go for? You want to go back home or you want to stay in that country? That is one of the key things that determines where you should go and what you should study. Your qualification is another thing that limits what you can study and maybe where you can go. There are programs that are well known to be best in particular countries, and there are programs that are quite scarce. So maybe they are reserved for certain institutions even in the country you want to go. So you are limited to that. And then how good your result is also can limit or determine where you want to go. For example, if you have a very poor result, you may not be able to get admission in certain places. Your intended program, I've already mentioned that your personal financial resources, like I always tell all our participants, when you go to certain countries, it's quite expensive because the currency is strong. But when you go to a country where the currency is a little bit, less strong than that or weaker than that, then the cost is going to be lower as well. So your intended program, your personal financial resources, the post-graduation opportunities you are looking at is also one factor that is very important. If you are thinking of working after you want a program where you're able to work after graduation, then you need to consider that for where you want to go. I just wanted to mention here, so I don't forget in the course of the presentation, that if you are going for study and work options, if you go to a country where that option is available for you, it is not open to you to just continue to work without consideration for the reason why you came to that country. So if you overstretch your advantage and you are working a lot, yes, you are going to be making a lot of money, but you are also going to be passing a wrong message to immigration to let them understand that education is not your primary reason for coming here. So you don't want to do that. So you need to maintain at least the minimum status that you have to as a student. So always bear that in mind when you think about study and work options. So I'm going to address, today I'm going to be focusing on Australia, on Canada, on the UK, and Malaysia. I'm not going to be addressing the US today. Maybe in another webinar I'll be addressing that. So for Australia, these are opportunities that you have. They have what they call the co-op option, where you're able to work while you are studying. And then there are a lot of graduation opportunities, like when you finish your program, you have the opportunity of getting a work permit to work for a certain number of years before you go back to your country if you want to go, or you may decide to stay back maybe if you get better options. So for you to go to Australia, on that note, I would advise you, there is a list called the skilled occupation list. So if you intend to study in Australia, check the skills occupation list of Australia and see the occupations that are in demand in that country. Let that guide what you're going to do. Because if you study and at the end of your study, you are told, sorry, we don't have need for this skill that you have acquired, that will be a disaster. So you don't want that to happen. So check that list, let the list guide you to make a decision. There are several immigration programs in Australia. There are the general immigration programs, the skilled experience programs. They have the regional migration programs, which is a new program that is just opening up that many people can take advantage of. If you study in the regional areas, you have the opportunity of extra time to work after your graduation, and it's faster. Instead of I think 2 years of work of study before you can get that, I think 1 year of study you can actually get the opportunity for getting a work permit. There are also a lot of opportunities in the agri sector. So if you are someone from that background, that may help you. And if you are from a country where you can easily go on tour to Australia, so there is the temporary visa opportunities that you can check while you are maybe backpacking across Australia. You may take advantage of the various programs that you can find on this website. It's called the Harvest Trail website. There are a lot of opportunities to work while you are just traveling through. So if you are from a country where that is permitted. Then there are career-specific programs like those in the medical field. They have a lot of advantage they can use. Then the skilled migration is based on age, your qualification, and your family situation. So you may want to check that out if you are interested in Australia, or if you are not sure where you want to go and you want to check out Australia. For the United Kingdom, the core program is also available. There are a lot of post-graduation opportunities, and I think it's getting better. This year, there are new programs that are opening up. I think from March, you will also be privileged to be able to stay back and work when you study. Then they also have something similar to Australia skilled occupation list, and it's called the shortage occupation list. So you need to check that and also be sure that you are doing the right thing. There are immigration programs, the general one. Now there is a new health and care fast track program. If you are in the medical profession and you are thinking about UK, this is a good program that you may be able to explore. And then there are career specific programs depending on which field you belong to. You may check on the immigration website to see what exactly is the need over there. That's for UK. The skilled migration program is also has things to do with age, qualification, and your family situation as well. For Canada, yes, these are the core program is also available in Canada. You have a lot of post-graduation opportunities, and they also have a list called the NOC, the National Occupation List or something. It's also the list of occupations in demand in Canada. So you may want to check that to help you make a decision. There are a lot of immigration programs as well. You have the provincial nominee programs, that's the PNPs, and you can check. Not all the provinces are offering this. So if you want to study in Canada, you may want to consider, especially if your goal is immigration, you want to consider maybe a province that is participating in provincial nominee programs, so that together with the main federal program, you can also apply to the provincial nominee program. Then they also have a lot of other pilot immigration programs that I think about 9 other provinces are participating in them. They all have conditions. Their conditions are much easier for you to migrate through, because for some of these programs, your employer does not need labor market impact assessment to bring you in. Some of these pilot programs have that opportunity, so you may want to check out that as well. And then there are also career-specific programs, like people in the medical profession. I keep saying that if you're in the medical profession, this is your time. So please take advantage of it. And then the skilled migration program is also age limited. Your academic qualification is a factor, and your family situation is also a factor. For those who have been asking the question, you need to be, I think, under 45 years of age for you to score any point for age. Your academic qualification, your points get better the more qualified you are. Like you get a certain point for school certificate. If you have a bachelor's, it goes up. If you have a master's, it goes up. If you have a PhD, it goes up. And then your family situation is also a factor. If your kids are too old, you might not be able to join it. If you are very young, you have an advantage on your side. If you're just, let's say for example, you just graduated from college or university, or you are still in university, you want to try, this is something that will be very good for you if you're still very young. They just want to build their system. And then Malaysia is the last one I'm addressing. Yes, you have the cost advantage when you come to study in Malaysia, because the currency, out of all the 4 countries, the currency is the lowest, and so it can be your stepping stone to wherever you are going. If you can, I'm speaking directly now with behind my mind I have questions that people have sent ahead before this time. So for people who are asking, advantage of cost. I'm going to show you a table later on as I go on why Malaysia may be a good place for you to start, and then you can go on to wherever you want to go, or you can use it in so many ways, like bridging gaps in your CV, building education gaps and all that. Then there is the co-op program here. I won't call it, it's not really co-op, it's more like your post-study work experience. So when you let's say you're studying for a 3-year program or a 4-year program, when you have done 3.5 years, then the remaining half year you spend working. So you go into the public place, you find a job, and from there a lot of people do get the opportunity to get employed, full employment after that. But that's majorly for undergraduate programs. This does not apply to postgraduate programs. So post-graduation opportunities will also be tied to that. Acceptability of the certificate from Malaysia in every other part of the world is another reason you may want to consider Malaysia. And then they have what they call the 2+1 and 2+2 programs, where there are so many institutions in Canada, in the US and UK that have I'll say partners and collaborators here in Malaysia. Some of them, they have branches here. Some of their campuses are here in Malaysia. So you can choose to do your 2 years here and then go do another year over there in the country. For example, you have, let's say your university in Canada that you're targeting is here in Malaysia, you can do 2 years here and go over to Canada to complete it, or do 2 years here and do 2 years over there in Canada. So depending on what your plans are, these are things that you need to consider before you move on with your application. Environmental advantage is one thing that Malaysia has above all those other countries. The weather here is excellent throughout the year. There is no cold, not too much cold, no too much heat. It's just okay for the entire year. And then immigration programs that are available in Malaysia, these ones are tech entrepreneurship is one of them, where if you are a tech person, you can take advantage of tech programs to immigrate to Malaysia. They also have the MM2H program, that's the Malaysia My Second Home. That is reserved for those who are very, mostly you have money and you're looking for where to spend it. Okay, that's the best way for me to describe it. So you come here, you have a fixed deposit in Malaysia, and then you can live here, you can buy a home here, and you can live here with your family. And I can tell you that if there are few places in the world where you can live comfortably in peace and with the weather fantastic, with life not too difficult, with finance okay, and with the social situation reasonable, especially for those who are raising kids, I will recommend Malaysia to you anytime. You can also migrate through business ownership and investment. So these are opportunities that you can take advantage of if you're thinking about immigration to Malaysia. But here is when you are thinking in the long term, especially in terms of becoming a citizen of this Malaysia, sorry, that advantage is not there. Not even if you marry a local. So for those who may want to think marriage is maybe an option, even if you marry a local, it doesn't make you a citizen here. And Malaysia is one of the countries where you cannot have what is called a dual citizenship. It's not allowed. So if you want to become a citizen here, you drop your natural citizenship and then you can take on Malaysia citizenship. Okay, so this is I made this table like a summary for those who might be interested. You may want to maybe take a screenshot of this and to help you in evaluating all side by side in terms of tuition, quality of life, living costs, your income, immigration opportunities are also addressed there. Language issue is there, and I think only Malaysia is non-English speaking out of all the countries. But because there are so many internationals here, then at the end of the day, everybody just speak English. So except if you have to live maybe in the interior, in the villages, which there's really no reason why you're going to be there as an international. The weather, you can see what I have there. Mild winter in UK, harsh winters over there in Canada. I mean, up to minus 40. It's a possibility in some provinces. And then the winter is just a bit better in Australia. I think they don't usually go into the minus, between 0 and 43 degrees. Yeah. So for Canada, it could be really harsh sometimes, and especially in some parts of the country. And then the education system and the tax system may just be. So if you're thinking in the long term, that is, if you're thinking in the long term, you're going to work in the country, you're going to pay tax, you may want to consider the tax situation in each country to see which one is the best for you. The lowest you have there is Malaysia with 15.5%, and it could actually go lower than that if you stay long here. So then the education system, Australia is more like research-based systems, while Canada has this advantage. Almost all the major universities are publicly funded, and then there are a lot of funding that you can access in UK, and then there are multiple local universities that are from other nations, as here in Malaysia. Okay, so about timeline and the average cost. So this is what you have there. So just put the currency behind whatever figure you see that I have there, and you have the answer to your question. So as in terms of timeline, when should you begin to apply? I would say a minimum of 7 months between your application and your targeted resumption date is ideal, minimum. If you can get a longer time, it will be better, but I think minimum, put 7 months. In terms of tuition, between 7,500 and 25,000, that's just average. It could be higher than this. There are universities where you pay up to $50,000, 50,000 pounds. So it depends.